My wife secretly sold our family's $500, $0 estate to her business partner, then forged my signature to embezzle $200, $0, and now she's suing me for custody and claiming I'm the one she's been betrayed by. I never thought I'd find myself in a situation where everything I believed about my marriage was a lie, but here I am. It all started with a gut feeling that something was off, then spiraled into a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. The most unexpected moment, discovering that my wife had been cheating on me with her business partner, and worse, she'd been manipulating our entire life together for her own gain. I want to tell this story because maybe someone out there needs to hear it, someone who's still blind, still trusting, still thinking everything's fine when it's not. And I had been married for 8 years. We built what I thought was a solid life, good jobs, a beautiful house, 2 kids, and a shared sense of stability. I was a successful real estate agent, and she was a marketing executive. We didn't have any major issues, or at least I thought we didn't. She was always a little bitchy, quick to dismiss my concerns or blow off any issues I brought up. But I figured that was just her personality. She's always been a bit sharp, a little cold, but I loved her. Or at least I thought I did. Things started to change a few months ago. Became more secretive, more distant. She'd leave her phone around less often, and when I asked about her whereabouts or her phone, she'd brush me off with a laugh and say I was overthinking. But I was. I noticed her spending more time on her laptop after I went to bed, and she was oddly defensive whenever I brought it up. I'd catch her deleting messages or quickly closing windows when I'd walk into the room. Little things, but enough to make me suspicious. Then came the day I found her phone by accident. I was looking for my keys in her purse, as I often did, and I saw a message thread that made my stomach drop. It was from her phone, and the first message was something like, "Can't wait to see you tonight, it's our secret." My heart raced. I scrolled up and down, and I saw dozens of texts, all suggestive, talking about how much she missed him, their plans for later, how she loved the thrill of sneaking around. Her affair wasn't just a one-night stand, it looked like it had been going on for months. I felt numb. My mind raced. How could she do this, after everything we built? I thought about the kids, about the house, about the life I worked so hard for, and it all suddenly felt like a house of cards ready to collapse. I didn't know whether to scream, cry, or confront her right then. I just stared at the screen, feeling betrayed, humiliated, and furious. How long had she been lying? How long had she been sneaking around behind my back? It was like my whole world had shattered in an instant. That night I waited for her to come home. When she finally did, I was sitting on the couch, my hands trembling. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk she always wore, like she knew she was in control. I told her I knew about the affair, showed her the messages I found. Her reaction? She laughed, a cold, dismissive laugh, and said, "You're paranoid, you're overreacting, you're just jealous because I work late." But I wasn't buying her bullshit. I told her I knew everything, about her cheating, about her lying, about her sneaking around. She rolled her eyes and said I was imagining things, that I was paranoid, that I was just insecure. But I was. I knew the truth, and that's when the real nightmare began. Because the woman I trusted with my life was not only cheating but also manipulating our entire financial situation. I started digging deeper, and that's when I uncovered the worst of all. She'd secretly sold our family estate, a property worth $500,000, to her business partner, and then forged my signature to embezzle over $200, $0, all behind my back. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. How could she do this? How could she betray me, betray our family for money? It was like everything I thought I knew about her was a lie. I confronted her again, this time with more evidence. I showed her bank statements, the transfer records, the fake signatures. She looked me straight in the eye and lied, of course. Said she did it for us, that I was too blind to see her sacrifices, that I was just a jealous fool. She had the nerve to accuse me of betrayal when she was the one sneaking around, stealing, lying, and destroying everything we built. I was furious, but I also felt an overwhelming despair. This wasn't just an affair anymore. It was a full-blown betrayal on a scale I couldn't even process. The emotional toll hit me hard. I felt anger, sadness, confusion, and a deep sense of betrayal. I kept asking myself, how did I not see it? How did I miss the signs? Did I ever really know her? Or was I just fooling myself all these years? The worst part was realizing I'd been living a lie, her lies, her manipulations, her betrayals. I started questioning everything about our marriage, about who she really was and whether I could ever trust her again. But even in the midst of all this chaos, I knew one thing. I couldn't let her get away with it. I had to figure out my next move, and fast. After I found out about her affair and the embezzlement, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing every second. I kept replaying everything: her smile, her lies, the way she looked at me when she was cheating behind my back. I felt like I'd been hit by a truck, but at the same time I knew I had to act fast. I couldn't let her keep pulling the strings. I started digging into her financial records more thoroughly, trying to understand how deep her corruption went, and that's when I uncovered even more shocking details. Turns out, had been planning this for a long time. The sale of our estate wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment decision. She'd been secretly funneling money through various accounts, creating fake documents, forging my signature, stuff I never thought she was capable of. The estate was worth about $500, $0, and she managed to sell it to her business partner, a guy named Jason. I remember the day I saw his name pop up in the records. My stomach dropped. She'd been working with him behind my back, and the worst part: she claimed she did it for us, that she was trying to get ahead to secure our future. But I knew better. She'd been embezzling money, lying, cheating, everything. I felt a mixture of rage and helplessness. How do you deal with someone who's been such a master manipulator? I decided I needed to confront her again, but this time with concrete proof. I sat her down, laid out everything I'd found: her secret sale of the estate, the forged signatures, the embezzled funds. Her reaction: she played the victim. Said she did it all because I was neglecting her, because I was too busy with work, that she was just trying to keep us afloat. She told me I was a terrible husband, that I didn't appreciate her sacrifices. That's when I knew she was lying through her teeth. She's always been good at twisting things around to make herself look innocent. I told her I wasn't buying her bullshit anymore. I told her I wanted the truth. No more lies, no more cover-ups. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk again and said, "You're overreacting. You're just jealous because I still look good and I still get what I want." That was her go-to line whenever she was caught, but I could see the cracks in her facade. She was starting to panic. I knew I had to act fast before she covered her tracks even more. That's when I decided I needed legal help. I contacted a lawyer who specialized in financial crimes and family law. I wanted to understand my options. I knew that if I didn't act quickly, she might try to claim I was the one at fault, twist the story around, and ruin me financially and emotionally. I also started gathering evidence: screenshots, bank statements, forged documents. I didn't trust her to admit anything voluntarily. She was a master liar, and I knew she'd try to manipulate the situation to her advantage. Meanwhile, kept up her act, acting innocent in front of the kids, pretending everything was fine. She'd come home, act like she cared, but I could see the hunger behind her eyes, the hunger for control, for money, for power. She was bitchy and dismissive whenever I pressed her on anything personal, but I knew her game. She was trying to throw me off balance, to make me doubt myself. I refused to let her do that. I was done being the naive husband who trusted blindly. I needed to take control of my life again. I started planning my next move. Carefully, I knew I couldn't just confront her and hope she'd come clean. No, this was a game of chess now. I had to think several steps ahead. I decided I'd file for a separation, get full access to our financial records, and prepare to take her to court. I also wanted to protect my rights as a father and make sure she couldn't manipulate the kids or use them as leverage. I was furious, furious at her betrayal, furious at her lies, furious that I'd been so blind for so long. Looking back, I realize how much this has changed me. I used to trust people easily, believed in honesty and loyalty. Now I see how fragile that trust was, how easy it is for someone to destroy everything in an instant. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I can't stay in this toxic mess. I've learned that sometimes the people closest to you can turn out to be your worst enemies, and that betrayal cuts deep, deeper than I ever thought possible. I just hope I can come out of this stronger, and maybe, someday, find a way to forgive myself for trusting her so blindly. Once I had all the evidence laid out, proof of her selling the estate, forging my signature, embezzling the money, I knew I had to act fast. The legal route was the only way to protect what little was left of my sanity and my finances. I hired a lawyer, a guy named Mark who specialized in financial crimes and divorce cases. We sat down, went through everything, and I felt a strange mix of relief and dread. Relief that I finally had some leverage, but dread because I knew wouldn't go down without a fight. Mark advised me to file for separation immediately and to start the process of freezing our joint accounts. That was a bitter pill, seeing my bank accounts, the house, everything I'd worked for, suddenly at risk of being drained or manipulated. I had to be careful, was manipulative and bitchy, and I knew she'd try to spin the story in her favor. Her usual tactic was to act innocent, cry victim, or claim I was the one cheating or hiding money. But I was prepared for that. I had the evidence and I was ready to fight. While all this was happening, kept up her act of being the perfect wife in front of the kids. She'd cook dinner, kiss them good night, and then go back to her secret world. It was infuriating. I could see her sneaking her phone behind my back, exchanging messages, probably trying to cover her tracks. I started installing security cameras around the house, not to spy on her, but to catch her in the act if she tried to do anything shady. I was determined not to be played anymore. One night I caught her in a lie. She told me she was at a business dinner, but I noticed her phone lighting up every few minutes. I peeked at her messages when she wasn't looking and saw her texting Jason, her business partner, about how she'd take care of everything and make sure she's protected. The way she said it, it was clear she was planning something. That was the moment I realized she wasn't just cheating. I was dealing with someone who was capable of anything, including more deception, more betrayal. I confronted her with what I found. She snapped at me, called me paranoid, said I was imagining things. She accused me of spying on her, of invading her privacy. Her tone was bitchy, dismissive, like I was some kind of crazy husband trying to ruin her, but I wasn't backing down. I told her I had enough. I told her I was going to take control of the situation, go to court, and get everything sorted out. Her response, she laughed and said, "You think you can stop me? I've already won. You're just too blind to see it." That's when I knew I had to prepare for the worst, was not going to go quietly. She was manipulative, and I could see her trying to spin the story to make herself look like the victim. She's always been good at twisting facts, lying convincingly, and making people feel sorry for her. That's her bitchy side. She's got this way of making everything about her, even when she's the one at fault. I was starting to realize that this wasn't just about money or an affair. It was about control, power, and her willingness to do anything to keep her grip on our life. Meanwhile, I started reaching out to my own contacts, an accountant, a private investigator, anyone who could help me get to the bottom of her financial mess. I needed to understand how deep her deception went. I also began documenting everything, screenshots, bank statements, her sneaky messages. I didn't trust her not to destroy evidence or lie her way out of it. I knew she'd try to turn the tables and make me look like the bad guy, but I was prepared. The emotional toll was massive. I felt betrayed, angry, and exhausted. I kept asking myself, how did I miss all the signs? How did I not see that the woman I loved was capable of such treachery? Every day was a struggle, trying to stay calm and focused while my world was falling apart. I had to remind myself that I was doing this for my kids, for my own sanity, and for the truth. I couldn't let her manipulate me into thinking I was the villain. I knew I had to hold my ground, no matter what. Looking back, I realize how much I underestimated her. Was always bitchy when things didn't go her way, but I never thought she'd go this far. Selling our estate, forging my signature, embezzling hundreds of thousands. She was capable of anything. The worst part, she's still trying to act innocent, still playing the victim, but I see through her now. I see her for what she truly is, a manipulative, selfish woman who's willing to destroy everything and everyone to get what she wants. And I'm just trying to survive this storm, to protect what's left of my dignity and my family. By the time I had all my ducks in a row, lawyer hired, evidence collected, accounts frozen, I knew the real battle was just beginning. Wasn't the kind of person to go down quietly. She's bitchy, manipulative, and she's got a way of turning situations to her favor. Still, I was determined to see this through. My main goal now was to get full custody of the kids and ensure she couldn't use the money or the house as leverage against me. The first thing I did was file for a formal separation. I wanted to make sure everything was legally documented: her affair, the embezzlement, the fake signatures. I also wanted to get an order of protection, not because I thought she'd hurt me, but to prevent her from trying to manipulate or intimidate me further. She had a way of spinning everything into her favor, and I knew she'd try to use the kids or the money to control the narrative. Her reaction? As expected, she flipped out. She threw a tantrum, calling me all sorts of names: paranoid, jealous, insecure. She accused me of spying on her, of trying to ruin her reputation. She even tried to turn the kids against me, telling them I was the bad guy, that I was just jealous of her success. It was classic, bitchy, manipulative, and relentless. But I stayed calm. I knew I had the truth on my side, and I wasn't going to let her twist everything. Meanwhile, she started legal action herself, filing for custody, claiming I was an unfit father because I knew about her affair and was too controlling. She lied about her finances, claiming she was the innocent victim, and insisted I was the one trying to ruin her. I couldn't believe her audacity. I had all the evidence showing her lies, her secret dealings, her embezzlement, yet she had the nerve to paint herself as the victim. That bitchy side of her was on full display. The court proceedings were a nightmare. Arrived in court looking bitchy and smug, trying to sway the judge with her tears and false accusations. I had my lawyer present, showing all the evidence of her betrayal: texts, bank records, forged documents. I was nervous, of course, but also angry. How dare she try to manipulate the system like this? I knew I was fighting not just for my reputation, but for my kids' future. I wanted them to see the truth, that their mother was capable of lying and betrayal, but that I was committed to protecting them. The judge seemed skeptical of claims. My lawyer argued convincingly, presenting the evidence of her embezzlement, the sale of the estate, and her affair. It was a long, exhausting process. Every time tried to spin her lies, I'd have the evidence ready to shut her down. I could see her bitchy smirk faltering under the weight of the truth. In the end, the court awarded me temporary custody of the kids, with supervised visits for. It wasn't a perfect victory, but it was a start. I knew she'd keep fighting, and I had to be prepared for more. While all this was happening, I kept a close eye on her. I installed security cameras, monitored her communications, and kept detailed records. I didn't trust her one bit. Was bitchy and cunning, and I knew she'd try to manipulate the situation to her advantage. I also started talking to the kids more, trying to prepare them for what was happening and to help them see the truth. It was heartbreaking, seeing their confusion and pain. I wanted to shield them from her lies, but I knew I couldn't hide everything. The emotional toll was heavy. I felt betrayed, angry, and exhausted. I kept asking myself, how did I not see this coming? How could I have been so blind? But deep down, I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I was finally seeing her for who she really was: selfish, manipulative, and willing to destroy everything for her own gain. I realized I couldn't fix her, and I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I had to focus on protecting my kids and myself, no matter how bitchy or manipulative she became. That's where I stand now. The court case is ongoing, and I'm trying to pick up the pieces. I've learned that trust is fragile and betrayal can come from the most unexpected places. Bitchiness, her lies, her manipulations, they've all opened my eyes to the fact that some people are just out for themselves, no matter the cost. I still love my kids and I still want to do right by them, but I also know I can't keep living in this toxic mess. I'm taking it day by day, trying to stay strong. And honestly, I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing: I will never trust her again, and I will fight to protect what's left of my dignity and my family. After the court hearings, things didn't immediately settle down, but at least I had some clarity. The judge awarded me full custody of the kids, with getting supervised visitation, which she tried to spin as a loss, but I saw as a win given her manipulative nature. Still, even with that, I knew wasn't going to give up easily. Her bitchy attitude was still alive and kicking, and her ability to lie and twist facts was unmatched. She immediately started playing the victim, claiming I was trying to keep her away from her children, that I was too controlling, and that I was the one cheating because I was too paranoid. She went on social media, posting fake sob stories about how she was the real victim, how I was trying to destroy her reputation, all while secretly plotting her next move. The woman's bitchiness knew no bounds. It was like she thrived on drama, on making herself look innocent while everyone else was the villain. Meanwhile, I was busy trying to piece my life back together. I had to get my finances in order, close joint accounts, set up separate ones, and make sure her access to our money was limited. I also hired a private investigator to keep tabs on her. I didn't trust her not to do something reckless or manipulative to try to regain control. She was still sneaky, still bitchy, and still trying to pull strings behind my back. One day, I caught her in a blatant lie. She told the kids she was taking a break from the divorce because she needed to focus on herself. But I knew better. I had intercepted a message where she was arranging meetings with Jason, her business partner, discussing how she'd find a way to get everything back: her house, the money, her reputation. That bitch was planning her next move, and I had to be ready. It was around this time I realized I needed to get even more serious about protecting myself and my kids from her manipulations. I started documenting every interaction, every lie, every attempt she made to sway the kids or manipulate the situation. I also told my lawyer I wanted to pursue full financial accountability. She had stolen a huge chunk of money, and I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I wanted her to be held responsible for her actions, criminally if necessary. The emotional toll was immense. I was angry at her, yes, but also heartbroken. I loved her once, believed in our marriage, and now I was faced with a woman who had lied, cheated, forged my signature, and manipulated everyone around her. I'd never felt so betrayed in my life, but I also knew I had to stay strong for the sake of the kids. I couldn't let her win. She was bitchy, yes, but I was determined not to let her control the narrative anymore. I started seeing a counselor, not just for the legal stress, but to help me process what was happening. I needed to keep my head clear, stay focused, and not let her manipulations get to me. Sometimes I'd get angry and lash out, but I knew that wouldn't help. I had to be strategic. I had to think several steps ahead. One thing I realized through all this is how much trust can be shattered in an instant. I used to believe marriage meant loyalty and honesty, but proved me wrong. Now I see that some people are just out for themselves, and they're willing to do anything, including lying, cheating, forging signatures, to get what they want. I learned that I can't control her, but I can control how I respond. And I choose to fight, not just for the money or the house, but for my dignity, my kids, and my own peace of mind. The coming months will be critical. I know she'll keep trying to manipulate the system, keep playing the victim, and try to turn the kids against me. But I also know I have the truth on my side, and I'll keep fighting to protect what's left of my family. What little bit of integrity I have left. I hope someday I'll look back at this and realize it made me stronger, but right now, I just want it all to be over. I want to rebuild my life, free from her bitchy manipulations and lies. I don't know how much longer I can keep this up, but I won't give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken. Not yet. Now, after everything, I find myself in a place I never thought I'd reach. The legal battles, the lies, the betrayal, it's all left a scar that won't heal easily. I've learned more about trust and deception than I ever wanted to know, and I've had to rebuild my sense of self from the ground up. The worst part is knowing that, with her bitchy, manipulative attitude, is still out there, trying to claw her way back into my life through lies, court tricks, and the drama she so loves to stir up. But I've also learned something vital. I can survive this. I've become more cautious, more guarded, but also more aware of what real betrayal looks like. My kids are still with me, and I've managed to shield them from her manipulations for now. Watching her try to spin stories about how she's the victim, how I'm the one who betrayed her, makes me sick. But I hold my ground, knowing the truth is on my side. Her bitchy attitude is a mask for her desperation, her inability to face her own failures. In the end, I realized I can't change her. I can only control myself. I've learned to trust my instincts more, to be careful about who I let into my life, and to never ignore the signs of manipulation and betrayal again. I've come to understand that some people are just willing to do anything for money, power, or control, regardless of who they hurt along the way. I've also learned that revenge isn't about getting even or making her suffer. It's about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and protecting my children from her toxic influence. I've moved on from the anger that once consumed me. Now, I focus on building a better future, one where honesty and integrity matter more than the bitchy lies she's so good at telling. Looking back, I wish I could tell myself to see the red flags sooner, to trust my gut more, and to never ignore that little voice warning me about her manipulative ways. But I also know that I'm stronger now because of it. I've faced betrayal head-on and come out the other side, but wiser. To anyone reading this who might be going through something similar, trust your instincts. Don't let anyone manipulate or lie to you, no matter how bitchy or convincing they seem. Protect yourself and your loved ones. Sometimes the truth is ugly, but it's always better than living in a lie. And in the end, honesty and self-respect are worth more than any amount of money or superficial happiness someone like her could offer. I hope my story serves as a warning. Betrayal cuts deep, but it also teaches you who you really are and what you're capable of surviving. I've learned that you have to be prepared to fight for what's right, and sometimes that fight means walking away, even if it hurts. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself, and I refuse to let her or anyone else take that away from me.